Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, and a big thank you to all your lovely messages over the last few days. The podcast stats are booming at the moment, so I think we're going to have a few listeners joining our little tech community. And if you have just discovered this podcast, a big warm welcome from me, Neil C. Hughes, aka the Tech Blog Writer. Come on in, the water is fine. In a nutshell, every day I will speak to a different guest about how technology is transforming their world. And I will then turn the virtual microphone over to you, listening in 165 different countries, and ask you to share your expertise, your experiences, your insights. This isn't a dictatorship. I'm not just telling you how the tech world is. Me and the guest will share opinions and how we see things and our experiences. But then it's so important for you to share your views so we can all learn together. Essentially, you, the listeners, are the beating heart of this show. And today I want to learn more about Emailage, which is helping companies significantly reduce online fraud. How? Through key partnerships, proprietary data and machine learning technology. But the USP here is that Emailage is building a multi-dimensional profile associated with a customer's email address, and by doing so can render a predictive risk score. And customers can then realise significant savings from identifying and stopping fraudulent transactions. So just the concept of using email in that way opened my curiosity. So come with me all the way to Phoenix, Arizona, so we can learn more about this together. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little more about who you are and what you do?
Hello, everybody. I'm Ray Carvalho. I'm Brazilian here based in Phoenix, Arizona, USA. We created Emailage in 2012. The company provides risk scoring based on email address. I'm excited. Thanks for the invitation. I'm here to answer any questions, to clarify exactly what we do. Usually people don't understand what we do, but I'm here to clarify and give you more insights about our technology.
And I'm excited to get you on here to clarify some of them points and maybe later rest exactly what you do, and so you don't have to keep answering that question everywhere you go. But my understanding is that Emailage uses email to track you like a credit score and help big retailers determine if they should be allowed to let that purchase go through. But can you set the scene and tell me a little bit more about what Emailage is and also the kind of problems that you're solving for your customers?
Sure. We are actually not in a credit score space. We are actually an online risk score space. Credit score is a companies that credit bureaus like Call Credit in UK, Experian, and Equifax. They use your local, what we call here in America, social security number to check when you're trying to get a big loan to buy your house or to apply for rent. We are not in that space at all, although our technology is similar. So what is the online risk score? We created this space. We're the first company that invented this. We know that a lot of us online buy things online, apply for credit cards and all those things. Social security number is never asked for when you're doing those things, but the email is the most popular data point that's asked whenever you buy something or apply for a Netflix account or you apply for an Uber account, all those things. Email is always there. So I was intrigued when I understood that nobody were using that data point to understand the risk of the person buying online. So just for you to understand better, talk about the problem itself. Companies lose billions of dollars when they're accepting transactions online. So prior to the internet, we were all used to buy things at the store. You go to a store, or a bank, for example, I want to apply for a credit card. And you go to a bank and then they will take your information, get your ID, verify that you are who you say you are, right? Then with the internet, everything is more electronic. You don't need to go to the bank branch anymore. You can do all this online. However, the bank does not have you is not asking for you to fax the ID for them. They wanted to get everything electronically. So how can they trust you if you're not providing, you're not seeing face to face, you're not providing your identification in paper physically. So of course, adding a venue through the internet gives us, all of us consumers, ability to apply online without having to go to the bank. So it's easier for us. But for the bank, it adds risk, because if they send the credit card to the wrong person, they might lose a lot of money before they find out this was a fraudster. So looking at that problem, what we did was, okay, we understand there's a lot of losses. Companies on e-commerce sites, Bitcoin, ride-sharing banks, money transfer companies, they all lose a lot of money because they don't know, they can't decide if this is a good person or bad person. So we created the company, Emailage, to score people based on their email address, where we can tell our customers that this particular person, which has this email address, is a good person. Go ahead and give the credit card to him. Or we can tell them, hey, based on our algorithm, based on the history of that email, we know that this person might be a potential fraudster. So we are basically, in a nutshell, what we do is provide the companies, our customers, the ability to separate the good from the bad. Is this good? Okay, ship the product. If this is this bad, don't ship the product. That's all we do.
I think it's a great idea, and you've certainly awoken my curiosity. And find myself thinking, how can you do all this through email? So can you tell me exactly how it works? And for anybody listening who's going to probably go on the Emailage website while they're listening to this conversation, just walk them through what to expect and how it works.
Sure. So just using the same analogy with the credit score, that since you brought it up, like, we're not in a credit score space at all. We're in an online risk score. So when you want to buy a house, for example, you go to a bank and say, hey, I found this house. I want to get some a loan there, right? So they're going to ask you first thing going to ask you is, what is your social security number here in America, for example? So the social security number is an ID that identifies you, because your name and date of birth together is not enough. There might be other people with the same name and same date of birth. So they got to have a unique identifier to identify you. And usually, especially in America, in America, social security number is what is used to identify the person. So what they will do with that social security number, which is your identification, they're going to send to Experian, for example, or Equifax, or TransUnion, or Callcredit. Those companies will then look at your score. The score is based on your past history of repaying a loan, right? Okay, Experian receive your social security number and say, okay, this social security number was used before 6 months ago to apply for a car purchase, and this person is being paying monthly with no problem. So they see your history of your past history of transactions, and they see, okay, he has never done anything wrong. So by the way, based on that, his score is super high because he's good. So that decisioning is based on your history, right, of all the things you did in the past. And then the bank will get a score, say, okay, I'll give you the loan. Your interest rate will be low because you're a good person, and here's the money, right? So when you're buying online, there's no credit scoring, like I said, but we invented this space called online risk score, and we don't use a social security number, we use email address. Email address is a global identifier, is the most important and the most unique key data point for anybody doing online transactions. So when you go apply for a card through, a bank, what they do is they receive your information, name, address, phone number, all those things, and your email address. So that credit card company send me your email address, and what we do is say, have we seen that email address before? Okay, we saw that email address before. He bought e-commerce, he buys airline ticket every 2 months, he bought a concert ticket from a concert every 6 months, and no company ever reported anything negative about this person, about this email. So of course, we use machine learning to understand patterns, where this email came from, is the same IP address as I've seen before. And then we create a score and send back to my customer. And my customer, okay, the score from Emailage is a super low. In our space, low score means is a good person. High score is a higher probability to be a fraudster. So then they see the score, they say, okay, that's a good score. So I'm going to provide this person with a credit card. And that's kind of the analogy that I make between credit score and online score, and why we created this technology.
Like, it's such a unique concept, and I'm curious, what is the story behind Emailage? Can you tell me more about the history and the inspiration behind the company?
Sure. Like I say, I'm a Brazilian, came to Phoenix 15 years ago. I was a CTO for a kiosk company, web cafe, check-in, boarding pass kiosks, all kinds of manufacturing hardware. And we sold the company fast forwarding in 2011. And I was thinking about what am I going to do next, right? I'm looking for something next to do. And as you know, US, there's a lot of opportunities. If you come with the right idea, you're going to be super successful. So completely unrelated to fraud space, completely unrelated to payments industry or fintech. So, but one day we had a party at my house. My wife hates that I say that, but it was her birthday. I'm Brazilian. We're drinking beer, eating meat, all right, the whole day. And one of my friends there was a VP of fraud prevention for Citibank. And we were talking about what is fraud. I did not even know what the problem was. He said, Ray, when somebody applies for a bank account and I provide to the wrong person, I lose $2,000, right, until I find out. And I say, how do you mitigate the problem? So when we received the submission online, the application online, we check the name compared to the name that we have. We get the phone number sent to the carrier and try to do the name matching. We check the IP address, and I say, how about the email address? He said, well, we use very little. We use it for blacklisting internally. We have some services that provide some domain information, but that's it. I say, but what if I tell you if an email exists or not? Would that be a good data point for you to make a decision? Say, well, that would be a nice thing. What if I tell you that email is linked to a social media account which by the way, we don't do anymore, which tells who's the person name is on a social media space and how many friends it has. So what if I tell you if this email has been listed in Google, cached in Google in the past, so we can see when that email was first seen in the internet. So he was intrigued. Said, well, that would be a super nice thing to do. And Cecilia, I wasn't super drunk. Next day I woke up and I remembered the discussion we had. And I say, well, this can be a great idea or can be something that there are always great ideas, but thousands of other people already had that ideas years ago. So I did a lot of research in the market and I couldn't find anybody doing this for the fraud prevention using email address as a key data point. So the players in the market are big players. We have Visa in the space. There's American Express. There's MasterCard. There's Experian now. There's CyberSource. There's many players out there. And I was intrigued to understand that none of those companies were paying attention to the most important data point, and that's how the company was created.
Love that story. And if we were to take a look underneath the hood and the technology that's actually enabling Emailage to radically change the global fraud prevention landscape, could you tell me a little bit more about that and that technology?
Sure. I mentioned about getting data from Google and Facebook or social media, those things. Those were things that we did in the past that we don't do today anymore. So this is because, of course, for you to make a decision, you got to have a history of transaction history or email history, right? We are not in a anti-phishing space. We're not in a cybersecurity space. We don't check email content. We're not on deliverability at all. We're not there. We only use email as a key data point. That's it, right? So what we did, of course, when I started the company, I didn't have data anywhere. So I had to buy data from those companies out there, from social media companies, all those things, right? So, but I knew that anybody that could come and do the same thing, it would be easier for them to copy it, right? So it would be super easy. So in my mind was always important that we build a network effect. So today, my decisioning has two pillars, right? One is my data. The other one is my algorithm, right? So like I say to you, the history is the most important thing. And for example, we have pretty much all the money transfer companies in the world use us, right? So if a fraudster, usually there's a fraud ring, say a fraud ring is can be terrorists saying, hey, let's attack particular industry so we can get them as much money as possible. So we have money to kill people, right? So terrorists can do that, right? So they have to find ways to get money so they can use that money to buy guns and all kind of stuff, right? That's one of the sides of the problem, right? So they're gonna focus on certain industries, and let's say they focus on money transfer companies because they found out on the dark web there is one company that's open and they were successful on getting money from that company. So if those companies they hate each other, right? So all the money transfer companies, they compete with each other. They're not talking to each other. They're not collaborating between them. So now comes this company from Phoenix. They created a way for companies not only to utilize the technology, but also to collaborate between them, where they're sharing fraud and risk signals between them without talking to each other. So, like I said, all those money transfer companies are customers of ours. So in a way, we shield those companies by providing each one of those companies intelligence they're gathering throughout the industry globally. So that means that we have history of attempts that is being shared in real time throughout that industry. And that's my data today. That's my key data. My key value today is the network effect, where a bunch of banks, a bunch of airlines, a bunch of Bitcoin companies, e-commerce sites, they're all using us to share data between them through us. And that's one of the key points. Of course, I know you're interested on the machine learning side. I saw here that you do a lot of AI. So there's a lot of things that we do, of course. You may ask, well, but it's so easy to create an email address. Yes, it's super easy. And sometimes that it becomes a honeypot for us. There are some countries that already, when we see an email that we've never seen before, it's already automatically get the higher risk. So we can see the pattern of the email, for example. Okay, I don't have history for this email address. It's brand new. But what is the IP related to that email address? Have we had a history with that IP? So what is the pattern? Is that some patterns that we recognize for that particular region is a higher risk. So this person is using bad boy 123 on the handle side. Okay, we understand from algorithms that the last 6 months, if anybody used bad boy 123 on that particular country, is 90% chance to be a fraudster. So we use all that, and machine learning help us make that decision.
And I also recently read that Featurespace and Emailage have partnered to combat online application fraud. So can you tell me a little bit more about that, especially for anyone listening that have not seen that announcement?
Sure. Featurespace is an amazing company, super well connected to them. It's a great partner. We release our PR together. We just did our partnership like a few months ago. So they are amazing on the machine learning side. We bring to them the network effect, like I say. So we sell directly to customers, to companies, right? Banks, e-commerce. And some companies, they say, I don't want to deal with fraud. I want to outsource my fraud issue. So I'm a big website, I'm a big e-commerce site. I don't want to deal with fraud prevention. I need to find a company that can outsource the whole thing for me. So then they go to companies like Featurespace. And then Featurespace takes on a responsibility to make the best decision for that customer possible. So then Featurespace leverage our intelligence to help themselves to make the best decision possible to their customers. So that union, that conjunction of amazing machine learning that they have, the network effect that they have for using all their customers that they have, combined with our network effect, which is cross-platform, even Featurespace competitors are also in our using us, so that we bring that intelligence cross-platform to Featurespace that without us, otherwise they wouldn't have that. And then we help them make the best decision possible. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. So their customer win, they win, and we win. And at the end of the day, the consumer wins, right? Because when the online fraud prevention started, there was a lot of phone calls, right? Hey, you place an order at the company, for example, company A, and then a few minutes later, somebody calls you, hey, is that you that bought this thing? Nobody likes getting that call. Companies hate making that call to you as well because they lose a lot of money because they have to hire all these people to make calls to people. Hey, is that you? What is your name again? What is your date of birth? So we call this friction. And then a frictionless solution, which machine learning is helping a lot today, means that the end consumer, the good people, don't even know that you're behind it, right? And the bad people, the fraudsters, are being blocked. And that's kind of our key strategy, is to make sure that we provide a sense of security to our customers without adding 1% of a friction to their customers. Customers don't even know that we exist.
And can you also tell me a little bit more about how the humble email address that everybody listening is going to have can actually be the most important weapon in their fraud prevention arsenal?
Look, a fraud is a tiered approach. Fraud prevention is a tiered approach. I don't think anybody we are not calling ourselves a silver bullet. Our solution by itself is not what we ask customers to do. We don't tell them, hey, stop everything you're doing and use only us. That's not what we do at all. It's just like a firewall. We got to put multiple layers of different types of security, right? You got to use IDS, you got to use ACLs, all those things. So with fraud is the same thing. So we close a door that nobody else closes, which is leveraging the email address. We're on that side, we can contribute to the intelligence on a decision making from our customer. We are not the ones making the decision to them saying, hey, this is good or bad in terms of approve or not approve. We tell them, hey, based on our space, we think that this guy has a 99% chance to be a fraudster. And the end decision is the customer. So of course, to make that decision, they have to layer other types of services. One of them is device identity, the device fingerprinting. It could be internal machine learning solutions. So it is a tiered approach. However, we not only ask email address for our customer, we ask also that customers provide to us email, IP, phone number, and name, and actually 50 other data points where we can correlate. Okay, this email address is amazing, but we've never seen that email address going with that IP address, which by the way is a risky IP address. And by the way, that risky IP address has a proxy behind it. Also, I know this email is valid, but that name does not go with that email address. So we saw 50 different transactions with that email address, but with a different name that you provided to me. So we go deeper on the transaction using the email as a key data point, but we correlate multiple different data points to make the best decision possible to our customers.
And as someone working right in the heart of this space, are you noticing a rising demand for fraud management software? Is that something that you're seeing more of?
Totally. Fraud issues, just like cybersecurity issues, is only growing. Fraudsters are dynamic. They are always trying to come up with something. They're super creative, of course. If I had used my technology as it was 2 years or 3 years ago, we wouldn't be stopping as many frauds as we are today. So we gotta be evolving. It's an evolving issue. So we we are now adopting deep learning to try to understand a lot of different things, different angles. Also, of course, growing the network makes a lot of difference as well. Understanding that there's some fraud trends, right? So there are some things that happen here in North America. It's not happening here anymore now, but the UK now is happening there in South America. So it's always evolving, and we believe that this is never going to stop. It's only going to grow. Of course, companies spend $3 in fraud prevention for every dollar they lose with fraud. So they're spending 3 times more money in preventing the fraud than with the fraud itself. So it is a problematic issue because why they're spending more money to stop it than the fraud itself. But the problem is if they stop investing money on prevention, their losses will be much higher, right? And we believe that this is as the people start buying more and more online, as new apps come in, like rideshare apps, delivery apps, all those things, more and more we are doing online, and more the fraudsters see that as an opportunity to make quick money.
Well, a huge thank you for coming on today. But before I do let you go, is there anything else that you can share with us about the future of Emailage and your grand vision for the company?
Yeah, we started here in Phoenix 7 years ago. We are a global company. We have an office in London, Singapore, Sydney, Mexico City, and Sao Paulo. We are lucky that we found out that we did something that nobody thought before, which is, by the way, the key data point email is a global data point. So our solution works anywhere in the world. We just hired our first employee in India. So of course, as we go, and people ask usually, what is your vision, right? So of course, I wanted to help the internet to become safer. When we are buying online, companies are not increasing their price because they're having a lot of fraud. So if a company A, for example, that a big e-commerce site that sells shoes online, if they're losing $1 million per month in fraud, they have to recoup that money. And the way that they recoup that money is to increase their price for all the consumers. So if I'm doing my job, if I making everything the internet safer by leveraging my technology, at the end of the day, I'm making the pricing for that for every merchandise, everything that's sold online cheaper for everybody. So that's kind of the main goal.
And for anyone that wants to find out more information, can you point the listeners in the direction of where they can find Emailage online, and also contact a member of your team if they did have any further questions after listening to our conversation today?
Sure. Well, the company's on Twitter. We have at Emailage. Of course, our site is emailage.com. My LinkedIn is Ray Carvalho, ReiCarvalho. I don't have social media accounts. I'm a target for the fraudsters, so I make sure that I'm super protected. But so I'm glad to talk to anybody that has more questions. I am super open, and we're a small company and growing super fast though, but open to talk to anybody.
Excellent. Well, I love the concept behind Emailage, and fraud risk assessment built around email data is something that I've never heard about before, especially after over 1,000 interviews, which shows you just how unique and special you are and what you've created here. So a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story with me today.
Thank you very much.
Fraud risk assessment built around email data. That certainly got me thinking, especially when they're enabling businesses to approve more transactions and protect your revenue. But if this is your area of expertise, if you have anything to share, whether that be questions or anything at all, please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. You can find me on all social channels out there as well if you pop by my website, techblogwriter.co.uk, and we can discuss anything that's on your mind. And there's also an open invite for you if you want to come on here and share your story too. But I must warn you, I think we've got 60 episodes booked in, so that's going to keep me busy till mid to late January. But if you are interested in coming in, get that request in now. We can get you on the books and book you in. But that's it for today. So a big thank you for listening. I'll see you the same time, same place tomorrow. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.